All right, we are actually about to start session, but before we session, I wanted to get this super short,
316, let's go.
Yeah. Super short Milkshake Monday episode out. And I'm here in Alaska with my crewmate Mylinh. We came to visit SnapOne, and I just wanted to give some love to Snap for making it into the top 16 for Red Bull BC1 e-battles. Reppin' hard, reppin' well. As always, Mylinh and I came to visit just to kind of like observe and scope out and train and see just the practices she implements in her own journey, and we're so inspired by her. So yeah, we just kind of came in here and did we're coming here ready for vomit sessions and ready to work hard. We are so inspired by you, Snap, so thank you so much for putting us to work this whole weekend.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so I am going to ask Mylinh and Snap 2 questions, and I'm going to let them just answer any way they please. And hopefully this information will just inspire other B-girls out there, whether young or gracefully aging, and anyone else who just wants to share this information to anyone that they love or know that they're on their own journey. So our first question is, and again, we are all 3 B-girls, reppin' Flooristas crew. All of us have our different years in how we've invested in this journey. So I'm curious to see what advice they'd give for this first question. So the first question is, what advice would you give your 20-year-old B-girl self in terms of enjoying the dance and having a good quality experience in this culture? Snap, let's start with you.
So what I would give to my 20-year-old self, what I've learned over the past 10 years is definitely how to train a little bit more effectively. Things that I wish I had known when I was first starting out. And what I mean by training effectively, like having a plan and almost like treating this like an athlete. That's how I treat it now. Having a plan of how I'm going to practice, what I'm going to practice, what I'm going to drill, and just having a little bit more structured practices rather than just going to practice and then just like going off or practicing whatever move.
It's all good.
Because I have found in practicing with a structure that progression is much more noticeable and actually happens a lot quicker. And then and that's like the physical side. But for the mental side, what I would tell myself is to really practice things mentally too. And I still struggle with this, but I think had I started mentally earlier, I might be in a little bit better place now to really like practice on the competitive mindset and also remember how to have fun and whatnot. Don't take it too seriously because I still do struggle with that, and I'm just now
Oh shit, that's mine, sorry.
It's okay. I'm just now figuring out how to control my thoughts mentally and whatnot. So I would have told myself to practice those 2 things, mentally and physical aspects.
Yeah. On my end, to be honest, I wish I told myself 10 years ago to not focus on just getting the moves and to really enjoy the journey of growing and learning. Yeah. And also, I can really, what Snap said as well, as far as like creating a structure and everything, I wish, or I would give myself advice in that end too, because again, just learning and seeing other people through the last like 10 years, you know, of how they practice, sometimes a person can do the same thing, but for like at least 5 to 10 years and still haven't grown, you know, so like to have a structure and, you know, have mentors like really help. And like I wish I had more of that, you know. I wish I could tell myself that 10 years ago as well too, and just to mainly enjoy the journey, because sometimes we really give ourselves like a hard time and just be very critical on our own self, because that's just our own self-judgment, but it overlooks to understanding that we should just really enjoy breaking, enjoy like building with people, and enjoy like just the progress and the journey of it, because that's one of the hardest things to do, at least for my end, you know. And yeah, just basically all that, and just learning how to train better, you know. And I wish I knew that 10 years ago. But
Yeah.
Mainly just enjoying the journey, to be honest.
Nice. Yeah. And if I can point out too, this is Mel here speaking. they are speaking coming from the love of being a competitive B-girl, for the love of education, and for the love of ciphering and getting down with other people in different communities. So everybody comes into this dance with different approaches, different mindsets, different intentions, and that's why their training approach is different. And I think all three of us in our own way are in the same mindset of just being a better version of ourselves, and competing in high caliber events, and just enjoying the ciphers with other people. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. So, but thank you guys for that answer. That even inspires me as I move forward,
And then the one last thing I want to add to that, I wish I had known when I was younger. It took me a while. This goes for young B-boys and B-girls. So competition is not everything. So just because you don't win a competition does not mean you're not dope.
Hello.
It does not mean you're not talented. It took me a long time to realize that. And I learned that by watching a lot of dancers that I think are phenomenal and like I think should have won or something, and they are really talented. And I oftentimes wonder, well, why didn't they win? Blah, 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 blah. Again, just because you don't win a battle does not mean you're not dope. That's the biggest advice I can give, like anybody. But I'm also the pot calling the kettle black, because, when you lose, it does suck.
Yeah. Especially when you have a structure and you train for certain things, like, You actually, and not to be on a big ego sense, but like, dude, I actually want to win this. I actually want to try, because it's a goal. Winning is a goal, and again, like, anybody can win, but like what Snap said, and I highly agree, just because you don't win, you can be so dope and nasty, even just being in the ciphers, you know what I mean? And because again, like, when it comes to competitions and cipher, they're two completely different atmosphere. Ciphers, of course, you don't have your judges, you're able to like break freely with your friends and people you haven't seen in a while, and just kind of exchange and respond to other people. Whereas competition, it's simply just judging based on your performance, your whole performance, your execution, your musicality, anything that you've been actually creating the structure to make it a goal to win that, so like, it's a different type of pressure on both ends, so. And again, don't think that just because you don't win events, you're not dope, because anybody can be dope with or without having a title hanging on the wall. Exactly. So just again, that comes back to just completely enjoying the journey and the growth and the hardship that breaking gives you.
Yeah. Nicely articulated. Okay, so I got one more question, and I feel like this is a question that gets discussed with a lot of B-girls, but isn't out there living on the internet as a discussion for us to just listen to. But here's the next question I wanted to ask. Okay, so you both have partners as you're walking in this B-girl journey. So what can you share in terms of your experience having a partner in a male-dominated culture? Like, can you share what struggles you have and how you got through them? Some learning lessons you want to share, advice to others? I know we could start with Snap. You are married, and you're married to someone who is not in the culture. So what can you share about that?
So that's a big topic. So I'm going to try and keep it as condensed as I can and highlight the most important points. Obviously, as a B-girl, you're in one of two relationships. You are either with somebody that is a part of the culture and a part of the dance, or you're with someone who is not. And both comes with its challenges. Both come with positive and negatives to deal with, just like every relationship. When I was in the first beginnings of the relationship, my husband oftentimes thought that maybe we had certain struggles, and he would always dwell on these struggles because he wasn't a dancer, and he couldn't relate to certain things, and so mentally that bothered him a lot. But I also had to reassure to him that dancer have struggles too. Which I'm sure will be talked about here in a little bit. But we have our struggles as well, and a lot of the struggles that I'd like to highlight is obviously he's not part of the culture as in depth, so he doesn't know some of the lingos or some of the natural things that are normal to me. And in the beginning, it would make him maybe uncomfortable or kind of like an outsider, or something as simple as me traveling to jams and him not going might make him a little uncomfortable that I am around a lot of males and a male-dominated scene, especially since he's not a breaker, so sometimes he doesn't understand certain things. And so as the partner, I had to be respectful and understanding of that and do everything I could to try and make the situation as comfortable as possible. That included being communicative with him, but also that included introducing him to a lot of people like in the scene, taking him around the scene so that he understood who I was with and like what I was doing. And that alone helped it. The other quick topic I want to hit on too is because he's not a dancer, or in this scene, sometimes he doesn't understand the constant dedication of doing this every day, like almost seemingly every waking minute of every day. He doesn't understand that. And that we had to kind of balance on both ends. He had to understand that this is my passion, this is my dedication, like, to life. But I also had to understand that if I love him, which I do, and love our relationship, like, I have to, set aside time for us to be together because I want to, obviously. I want to be with him, and I have to find a balance. Balance is a big thing, and some people find that a little bit faster than others. And some people find a struggle to find that, in relationships. And it took us a couple of years. Might be faster for some people, might take a decade. But the biggest thing, and Mel loves this quote that I like to show and share, is that the relationship that you choose to be in with somebody, you should not be looking for like the perfect relationship that has no problems and no arguments. You should be looking for the relationship to be with the person you're willing to grow with, not what's perfect right off of the bat. Yeah, so you're willing to have those arguments. You're willing to learn new things together. It's not perfect right off of the bat, because I'm sorry to say that in my experiences doesn't always work, honestly. So that's my tidbit, Lynn.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go into, on my part of, actually I am dating a b-boy. We do both break together in a sense, and like there are similarities of what Snap mentioned as far as creating that room to grow together. And so like for me on my end, like I think mostly when we get into the breaking world, the ideal is, oh man, I want to date a B-girl, or I want to date a B-boy, but at the same time, that's another like topic and stuff. But like, for us, it's still hard. There's still some difficulties. There's still things that we have to learn and challenge each other, not just on a breaking aspect, but on a life aspect. Because for one, like he's a full dedicated teacher, breaking teacher, and for me, I've never met someone who's driven to teach kids to break every day, to be committed. And that was something that I wasn't used to, but it was just cool to know that I'm dating somebody who dances as well. And that also comes with like some stressful time too, because we have arguments as well, as far as like, why I feel a certain way because I'm not like, sometimes I feel like I'm comparing myself to him because he's also dancing, and that I'm also dancing as well too. But like, again, like it can be hard because we have to make time for us to do things individually as well. And dating a b-boy, trust me, is not like all that's like amazing and sound cracked up to be, because at the end of the day, you're still two individuals who's trying to grow. And like what Bree was saying too, it's not trying to find the ideal person to be with where there's no flaws at all, but you have to also give room for each other to grow. And for us being dancers, we do have our moments where I don't want to always break with him. Like I want to give him time to do his thing, and just vice versa as well too. And like I have to learn how to be understanding of his work full time, catering and just being there for his work. And for me, it's complete opposite, where I'm still over here trying to train on my end, and we don't need to always have to be together to be like, we have to break together all the time, because too much of anything is like not good. Right? Yeah. So there's still hardship, but at the same time, like I think at the end of the day, as long as you both are still growing as individuals, then that's all that really matters. Like it's different. Like it's good that we understand a lot of the things that we connect with in breaking, because we can always share that, and we always we do have good times where we do share and we practice and everything together. But again, that comes back to, you have to balance yourself to give that space to not always cling on just because we break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it comes back to like just room to grow individually, and that's what you need, and you have to understand that even through life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if that made sense.
No, that's well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mylinh, and thank you so much, Snap, for sharing these two pieces or answering the two questions so nicely articulated. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we close it out? Yeah.
Is anything really? Or-
Okay, anything. No.
I would like to go back to what I wish I could have told myself when I was younger. Like treating this like more from like an athletic perspective. I think some people like don't like to look at it like that because this is first and foremost obviously an art, and you have to be creative and treat it as artistry and whatnot. But the thing is though is that you can't deny that this is physical.
Yes.
And the earlier that you treat your body well, the better and more longevity that you're gonna have.
Hello.
I really cannot stress this enough.
Yep.
Because too many, breakers, they beat their bodies up and don't take care of it, and then they can't break until their 30s and their 40s, and that's really sad, and it's definitely possible. So if you want longevity in this, I'm sorry to say, you do have to kind of treat yourself like an athlete, eat healthy, practice, work out a certain way. So, don't take offense to that kind of a mentality. Obviously, this is an art form, and I'm not taking away from that. I'm just saying that the better you take care of your body, the more artistic and more physical you're going to be able to be with this dance.
Yeah. Nicely said.
And something
For
I actually
sure.
want to add to that, as far as coming back to like 10 years ago, I wish I told myself 10 years ago that it's okay to have people coming in and out of your life and your journey. Because the one thing is, what I've learned just being in my crew back at home was, I've always felt like I was holding those feelings accountable because that person helped me grow. And I felt like I needed to stay connected with them no matter what we're doing. But then kind of also realizing like everyone in the crew have their own life to attend to, whether they're breaking or not. And that was something that was hard for me to accept, because I think the ideal was like us breaking as a crew, traveling as a crew, doing everything as a crew forever. That's not gonna happen. Like, you're gonna have people coming in and out of your life, especially within your crew. And the thing is, you also, like, I wish I told myself that, hey, don't worry about it, because you're gonna meet people along the way in your journey to grow with them, because they're gonna be on the same wavelength as you, and they're gonna give out that same energy and vibe. So that's what I wish I told myself like 10 years ago, because if that was the case, I would have been like, okay, bye. I wouldn't have to stress out so much about it, I wouldn't have to be like, man, this sucks, but like but yeah, that's what I wish I would tell myself. So give understand, like, there's gonna be people that will come in and out of your life on this journey. Your crew's gonna still be with you whether they break with you or not, if you guys are still on good terms or good friends. But at the end of the day, like, you're the one who's holding yourself accountable for everything that you do, and if you want to keep staying on this longevity, yes, what Snap said too, cross training. Take care of yourself, take care of your body, don't do dumb shit, because if you do, you can permanently hurt yourself, and that's gonna stop or hold things back. And and just like find other people to build with, because that's truly important on your journey. Like, you have to keep finding new inspiration every time, like, and it doesn't have to be people who break, it can be really anything. Yes. But just I wish I told myself that a long time ago, because I was really holding on to that so much, and it affected me in a negative way, and just not really knowing how to open myself up to newer vibes, so that's another thing as well.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing that. So if you really want to continue to watch their journey, go ahead and follow them on Instagram. Mylinh is _Mylinh_, and SnapOne is SnapOne Flooristas. Both on Instagram, both are very active, both just trying to level up in life, and that's the kind of energy we like to have in our life. So thank you so much for listening to this. And we are right now we're about to session, so we're gonna get this in. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Much love. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.